Okay, welcome to day 4. Today's date is the 4th of May, or as some call it, May the 4th. So today's idea is going to be connected to that. And we're going to talk about controlling devices with your hand. I've done concept videos, we've done concept videos on this before in the past. Today we're going to look at 3 examples, 3 items that we want to control. Kind of get into them a little bit more, and we're also going to bring up something that I just saw in the last week or two, some article using like an iPhone and everything. So let's actually jump into that first, right? We're going to talk about 3 examples are going to be lights. We're going to talk about air conditioners and fans, and we're going to talk about speakers, right? We're going to dive into a bunch of them, but let's first look at this project. So this guy was looking at the HomeKit on the iPhone. The idea of HomeKit is like controlling the smart home, and he was looking at why it's so difficult. We've gone through this in a couple ideas before, but it's a big problem once you start getting like a long list of devices, right? Whether it's cameras or whether it's a lot of smart devices in your house, and once you add in lights, individual lights grouped by room, things like that, and then you add speakers and lots of different outlets, and once you get a bunch of smart things, controlling them, especially individually, becomes quite difficult. So his idea was quite similar, was pointing a device, but actually using the iPhone to point it to the device, right? This idea of an intention, precise intention of that's the device I want, is the thing that he was looking at, which is exactly this concept. But he was using the iPhone, and he was suggesting to use the UI chip that's been put in the later iPhones, the latest ones, and it's also starting to be put into new devices. The AirTag, which is the most recent one, we'll hopefully be doing a quick video on that in the coming days. But he was basically using the UI chip and saying, let's use that, point at the device, almost like a wand, almost like an air remote, to control the device, instead of me having a list of so many items. Like if I'm in a room and there's 7 lights and I want to turn one off, or if I want to turn off a bunch, I don't want to open up an app and turn on the phone, open the app, go through a list, maybe they're grouped by rooms, and then find the device I want, which might be called light 1. Like how accurate can you get when you're controlling lights, which is actually one of the biggest problems of light switches. Light switches are notoriously hard in that. I'm sure many of you had this. I definitely had this. I was living in a house for quite a while, and yet the light switches in this place were so badly done, and I know this happens quite often, that I never ever learned all the light switches which they went to, because I had one light switch that would hit, the first light switch would hit the first light, the second light switch would hit the light of the other side of the room, and then I would go into a second room, and it would turn back off the light that I just switched in a completely different room. Very, very confusing. But over here, basically, you go through a list, and by the time you actually can find out how to control it, it's quite difficult. So what he was proposing was using the UI chip to point the iPhone at the device, and then the controls of that item that you would normally have in HomeKit would appear, right? So I'm sure a lot of you can understand that, and I would highly recommend you to find this article. I will try and link it in the description, and if not, get in contact with me and I'll give you a link to the article. But essentially, let's zoom into AR, right? Let's go a little bit into the future, what augmented reality can do, and what context can bring to it. Let's start with lights, right? The original concept video that I shared with lights was pointing at the light to turn it on and off. You could do so many more things. So one thing is, what do you do with multiple lights? There's quite a few ways of dealing with this, but one way that I wanted to deal with this was, imagine if you can lasso a bunch of lights, collect them all, put them into a group quickly, and then now you're controlling them. There's a lot of controls that we want to do with lights, right? We can dim them, and there's various levels of dimming. We can change colors. I saw one cool concept videos which used like a color picker to select lights in your environment, right? Pull that blue out of the sky, and then point that picker, like your virtual hands, make that gesture, and send that color at the light to change its color. You're pulling out light from the environment. It's so cool. There's so many. These things just open up so many ideas and so many new concepts that are just fascinating. What people can come up with. So lights selecting them, precisely selecting them, saying, I want to turn that light on, I want to turn on a bunch of lights, I want to change the color dimming, things like that. So many things we can do. But we're starting with the intention, we're starting with that precision, we're starting to say, I want to control that, boom, controlling it. You're not going up the front of your light switch, which is confusing. The next thing is like air conditioners, right? We all know we're going to lose the remote. The remote problems work a lot with TVs, the same kind of problem. But this remote usually has a lot of controls. The controls, first of all, if you find the remote, if it's close by, sometimes you just want to walk into a room, you're so hot, you just want to be able to turn it on. Just maybe imagine a gesture that you just flick towards the thing and just, come on, turn on already, just like blast me with AC if it's so hot outside. You're also using the entire air conditioner as your UI. You're using the entire screen. A lot of air conditioners come up nowadays with like small screens that show maybe like the temperature or maybe a couple more things about that air conditioner. Imagine all the concept of the remote, just not even just seeing where it's up to, but controlling it. One cool thing that I wanted to do in the car, in the Tesla, part of my Tesla concepts that I was doing, was Tesla has a really cool way of visualizing controlling the air conditioner. One of the cool ways is actually seeing the air come out, like virtual air. Imagine if when you looked at an air conditioner, right, one of the things is like being able to move them horizontally or vertically. So in the Tesla, they actually visualize the airflow coming out, right? Imagine if now I can control that in midair. I can see that, and now I know straight away that it's not blowing at me. Imagine I can just point that air and just like grab that virtual air and just pinpoint it on me. I'm not going up and down and horizontal and pressing a button to get it, up, or, up and down and moving it around. I just like grab that airflow and just like put it on me. Or like tell it to like follow me. I don't know, double tap on my nose so it follows me. And as I walk around the room, now the air conditioning is following me. There's so many different ways of doing it. Scheduling. It's like this. Being able to just turn it on and off is so difficult, and on the air conditioning you're usually limited to like, okay, I can turn it off at a certain time, but that works in every day. What if you want different times in a day? You want to be able to control these for the whole 7 days of the week and make like an actual multiple dates, multiple on and offs, different times, not just saying, okay, it needs to go on at 5 and turns off at 8, but you don't have more control than that. So you're not just getting contextual, you're not just controlling the air conditioning, but the entire interface now wraps around the air conditioner. You can visualize the airflow to move it around, to position it with it, and there's so many more ideas that can come out with it. The third idea is speakers, right? Music. We all love music. Some speakers have screens on them. Some speakers are far away. The way that we control a lot of these speakers that are far away, or if there's two of them, how do we link them up? A lot of the ways that we control them is with a computer screen that's connected to them, that the app's running on the computer, or the app's running on a smartphone. Why? Take that screen out. Imagine now that screen could wrap around the device. So I could point at that speaker. That speaker comes to life. The artwork ripples around it. I'm able to now see exactly what's playing. I can swipe music just by pointing at the speaker. I'm not opening up applications. A big problem with speakers that I've found is that you sometimes don't know where the source is coming from. Is it coming from a browser? Is it coming from Spotify? Is it coming from iTunes? Is it coming from podcasts? And all these different applications have different controls, right? By pointing at the speaker, I'm now dealing with it. I can see the source. I can now control it. The UI wraps around, works with it. Imagine the UI now can fill the room. When I have the music, I can kind of have not just visualizations on the screen, but the visualizations can now fill the room, ripple off furniture around me. I can feel like I'm part of the music. I can not only just see visualizations, but I can actually start seeing, imagine if like plants and trees and like very trippy kind of like actual items, and oh my god, we could just go crazy in how we can feel it and everything. But at the end of the day, the simple thing is how I can control it. Now, there's lots more things that we can do. I just wanted to start you off with some ideas. What is this concept of like, just pointing at something, being able to control it? What does that mean to have the UI lift out of a smartphone or lift out of a tiny little remote and actually envelop the actual device that you're trying to control? Let's escape that tiny screen. What can we do with that? There's so many new intuitive ways that we can control it, that we can work with it. It's just mind-blowing. Anyways, I'm gonna stop right there. That's the ideas for this video. And I will see you guys in the future.